everybody! This is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR and racing podcast. Let's keep that action from Richmond going. On episode 1 this week, we covered all the Truck Series action, plus had O'Reilly Series driver Parker Redsloff on the show. For this one, we cover all things from the Cup Series race in Richmond, plus go over the standings, yellow flag, green flag, discussions with Dave, Fast Davey's bets, plus interview with Cup Series driver Cole Custer. That and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at disneydavew@verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for trivia question time. This episode's question is, who won the first NASCAR Cup Series race from New Hampshire? Answer coming at the end. Now for the Cup Series recap from Richmond. Cup Series will be ready to put on a Saturday night special out in Richmond. Ryan Blaney would be the fastest in qualifying and win the pole. Him and Chase Briscoe bring the field to green. Almost 10 laps of battling side by side, Blaney clears Briscoe for the lead. Entire stage would stay green. Briscoe would start to get closer to Blaney, but just couldn't reel him in. Blaney goes on to win stage 1. Again, the same pairing restart for stage 2. Briscoe clears and leads early, but 28 laps later, Blaney would be back to leading. First yellow for incident flies on lap 125 as Zane Smith spins. Briscoe and Joey Logano restart with 97 laps to go in stage 2. Briscoe again to the lead. Then, by lap 172, the pair start to battle again for the top spot. They both pit 7 laps later. 24 laps left in stage 2. Logano has over a 3.5 second lead over Briscoe. Denny Hamlin would eventually take over from second, but Logano would cruise to the stage 2 win. Logano and Hamlin restart for the final stage. Briscoe would make it 3 wide between the two and go back to the lead. 35 laps later, the next round of pit stops would occur. Logano pits on lap 279 and Briscoe a lap later. Yellow does fly 5 laps after that as Carson Hocevar stalls in turn 3. 107 to go. Logano and Briscoe restart. Chase clears and leads. He would again pit with 76 laps to go and then Logano a lap later. Each of them would make their final pit stops with 38 laps to go. They both pit at the same time. Logano gets off pit lane just before Chase. Both get past Christopher Bell for first and second with 23 to go. 5 to go. Logano still leads. Briscoe on his bumper. Could he make the pass? Joey Logano would hold off Chase Briscoe en route to winning his second race of the year at Richmond. Quick look back at the predictions we made for the Cup Series. I went with Kyle Larson. He finishes 6th before heading to Knoxville. More on that on DWD. Now for yellow flag, green flag, Cup Series. Yellow flag, Cup. Brad Keselowski, after a top 10 qualifying effort, expected more from Brad as he finishes 26th. Cup Series, green. Team Penske. Ryan Blaney didn't get the finish he wanted after winning the pole. Joey Logano goes on to win, and Austin Cindric finishes 3rd. Strong showing from that group. Now for discussions with Dave, Part 1. Cup Series thoughts. Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe put on a great battle to close out. Pretty darn good race at Richmond. Logano didn't run away with it. I mean, his margin of victory was just 0.3 seconds over Chase Briscoe. I mean, another 10, 15 laps probably would have been a different story. But in the end, Joey Logano gets the win, and he is heating up at the right time. Of course, the playoffs are a little bit different compared to last season's, so a win late in the regular season, of course, it is big. But now with no win in you're in, it really does seem like every race could have playoff implications. Nonetheless, this was Logano's second win of the year. The way the first half of the season went for that 22 group was definitely some tough sledding for sure. But the way the schedule sits, Logano is just really heating up at the right time. Can he carry this momentum into the chase after it starts in Darlington, post the Daytona second race? Moving right along in DWD, one of the storylines a lot of the NASCAR fans have been talking about is Kyle Larson doing the double last weekend. And it's not the Indy 500, Coca-Cola 600 double that you're used to. As we know, Kyle Larson is one of, if not the best, dirt drivers, sprint cars in the world and probably all time. One of the biggest sprint car races of the year, Knoxville Nationals, was also going on this last weekend as well. Larson was there with his team. He actually won the qualifying for the race, but with both races planned to go on Saturday night, Kyle, of course, is going to fulfill his NASCAR duties, and he was honest. He said, I can't be two places at once. Of course, I'm going to prioritize NASCAR. That's my full-time job. In the end, Larson was able to make it to Knoxville in time. Weather greatly affected that race out there and pushed it back. The crews had to get the dirt to racing quality. And it wasn't actually Larson with this plan of trying to do the doubles. He was just really, truthfully, trying to stay focused on the Cup stuff. It was his Cup crew chief, Cliff Daniels, that made sure there was an airplane ready for Larson at the end of this one. Of course, every one of these teams is racers at heart as well, and Cliff Daniels said, you got to get your butt to Knoxville. Larson finishes 6th at Richmond, then flies to Knoxville and wins it. The weather held out in Larson's favor, and he was able to make it just before the hot laps and get in that car and go on to win. Really neat by Kyle Larson. The next storyline stole the cake of the NASCAR Cup silly season news this week, and I was not expecting a decision on who was going to fill the 48 seat with Alex Bowman retiring from Hendrick Motorsports and NASCAR after next season, 2027. Hendrick Motorsports has announced that they have signed Connor Zilisch to drive the 48 car starting at the 2028 season. I was surprised how early this news came out, but if you look at it from both parties, Connor Zilisch, with his Cup Series contract with Trackhouse being up at the end of next year, really going to be a hot commodity after at how many O'Reilly Series races he won last year and all the hype about Connor Zilisch. If he's available, you might as well make an offer. And on Connor's side, I understand you wanting to be loyal with Trackhouse Racing, but when Mr. Hendrick calls you with an opportunity to drive the 48 Cup Series car for them, last time I checked, the 48 car won 7 championships with Jimmy Johnson. You got to take that opportunity. And on the flip side from Trackhouse, Justin Marks totally understands it. Of course, he would have liked to kept Connor and maybe had more of an opportunity to, keep him at Trackhouse. If Justin Marks were in Connor's position, I think he would do the same as what Connor just did. And that team's going to finish out strong this season and next year. One of the questions that did pop in my head, does Connor Zilisch get a win before he departs Trackhouse for Hendrick? Food for thought. And of course, we'll be paying attention And with Zilich taking the seat from Alex Bowman, what does that mean for Corey Day? When talking about the free agent seat for Alex Bowman, I was in complete support of Corey Day taking that. Heck, I was saying for next year. But the one thing with Corey Day and Connor Zilich, I think going to do great and win championships at Hendrick. And Hendrick Motorsports still has a long-term plan for Corey Day. And I do think that ends with Day in one of their Cup Series seats. But if you dive deep and you pull back the onion from Day, the asphalt and pavement racing, it's only been just over 2 years since Corey's been racing full-time on pavement. He was the dirt guy and a heck of a good one. Kyle Larson was the guy that said, hey, we need to sign this guy. I've had Corey on the show before. He didn't come from money. He said, I would be happy and content racing sprint cars for the rest of my life. Then, of course, Rick Hendrick calls and you answer that call. With both situations between Zilich and Day, it did lead me to think, did Connor Zilich's struggles this year at the Cup level help him lock his seat in with Hendrick starting in 2028? For Hendrick, by the time you get Zilich, he's going to be 2 full-time Cup seasons in. Corey Day would be just wrapping up his 2nd full-time O'Reilly season. As just mentioned, Hendrick did come out and say they are still in full support of Corey Day. They want to get him into the Cup Series. I think Day just needs more time to marinate. Maybe we see Corey first start his Cup Series with a Chevy partner team, Trackhouse, Spire. Still got plenty of time for that to play out, but something that I'll be paying attention to. Now for NASCAR history time. New Hampshire Motor Speedway, September 17th, 2000. Jeff Burton put together one of the most dominant performances at NHSP, leading all 300 laps of the Cup Series race that year. Starting second alongside pole sitter Bobby Labonte, Burton took the lead on the opening lap, and he just didn't give it up, becoming only the 3rd driver in the modern era Cup Series history to win a race from green flag to checker like that. The victory also gave Burton the record for most Cup Series wins at the Magic Mile at that time, and his 4 victories came in an incredible 8-race span at the track up north. Now, July 14th, 2013. Brian Vickers pulled off one of the biggest surprises in the 2013 Cup Series season, taking the lead at New Hampshire with 16 laps remaining, holding on for his first Cup Series victory in 4 years. Driving the 55 Toyota for Michael Waltrip Racing, Vickers had to survive a late caution and a green-white checkered, beating Kyle Busch to victory lane. The emotional victory was Vickers' 3rd career win at the Cup level and first since '09, making it especially memorable comeback after his health struggles that sidelined him earlier in his career. It was also the 7th and final Cup Series victory for Michael Waltrip Racing, which was shut down after the 2015 race season. Now, for Paint Scheme of the Week, Ty Gibbs has come out with a partnership with M&M Mars. M&Ms are going to be on a NASCAR yet again in a Kyle Busch tribute paint scheme. Can't wait to see that car hit the track. Now for our driver guest of the show, and that's Cup Series driver Cole Custer. Appreciate Cole coming on the show again. Here's what he had to say. Next guest we bring back on the Splash of Gas is driver of the 41 Chevy for Haas Factory team is Cole Custer. Thanks for joining the show again, Cole.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Last spoke to you after Kansas this year, the first Kansas race, and you've been putting the 41 more towards the front of the pack. The 9-race stretch from Watkins Glen to the second Atlanta race, 5 top 20s, highlighted with the P12 finish in Michigan. Assuming it feels good to get more consistent finishes with this group.
For sure. I mean, the start of the year was definitely a work in progress just with the move to Chevy this year. Figuring out, the whole new dynamic of that manufacturer and, the tools that they have and just trying to take advantage of everything. So the first half was tough on us, but once we got to about Charlotte, about halfway through the year, we started to definitely have some bright spots. Going to Charlotte, having a solid run, going to Michigan and Pocono, and just having some speed out there. So it's definitely been nice. It's just a matter of doing it consistently now. The short tracks have definitely been tough on us. So hopefully we can start to find a package there.
Got it. Appreciate you mentioned getting up to speed with Chevy as well. And I mentioned Michigan. You guys show speed early there, qualifying 15th. You end up 12th. From the TV, it really seems like you guys are hauling the mail out there. Red flag, then the final restart with 38 to go. How are you feeling leaving Michigan this year?
Yeah, I mean, we felt really good about it. I felt like, we qualified good, just had an overall solid weekend through the whole time. So practice went solid, qualifying solid, and then everybody executed the race good. So we just got to keep building and trying to do it more consistently every single weekend at different track types and everything that's thrown at you, in the Cup Series. But, I mean, there's so many different types of tracks, for short tracks, intermediates, super speedways. So you really have to be good at, building a whole program and being good everywhere.
Got it. You mentioned the different types of tracks. And road courses are finished for the year after Sonoma. I finished 20th there, and then 12th earlier the year in the Watkins Glen. Do you feel like you guys are moving in the right direction with the road course package?
For sure. I mean, I think our road course package definitely got better throughout the year. It's definitely tough. There's so much fall off at the road courses. You really have to manage the tires a lot and find a setup that can really help you with that. But I feel like we didn't make it better. It's definitely strange how we don't have any more left. We're so used to running road courses later on into the season, but we definitely got them out of the way early and kind of leaves you on more a little bit.
Yeah, totally agree. A little strange not having a road course in the playoffs, but just got to roll with the schedule. And I know San Diego didn't end the way you guys wanted, but NASCAR races for the first time on the Naval Air Base Coronado, the base, the track, the racing. What was like the whole experience for you? Seemed pretty neat.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, being able to race on a naval base was a once in a lifetime thing, and the crowd that was there, the hype that was around the whole event, it was really awesome. And to do it on America's 250th anniversary was really cool. Also, just giving the military their respect and everything they do for our country. So it was a really cool event. I'd love to go back, but we'll see. I don't know what everything has planned.
Agree. Really hope that NASCAR does return to the naval base, and yeah, super patriotic and was some great racing for sure. And 2 races ago out in Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400, you guys unloaded with a lot of speed and qualified 12th, which is the best spot for the 41 this year. Saw you were at one of the practices or qualifying sessions for the Indy 500 back in May. It seems like you were extra prepared for the Brickyard this year.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I had never been to anything IndyCar related at the Brickyard, so going up there for practice was awesome. We share a sponsor with Texas A&M with one of the IndyCar drivers, and it was awesome to kind of be able to kind of see their world a little bit and be able to, just kind of understand it all, because it's all similar, but it's all different also.
Got it. Appreciate you mentioning that. And once the race got going out in Indy, 13th in stage 1, 15th in the middle, and end up P13. I mean, how would you sum up your weekend on track?
Yeah, I mean, I would think it was really similar to Michigan. I think we found a solid package for our intermediate cars, and just being able to unload solid, have solid races, and everybody, our team actually well, I feel like. So we just have to keep bringing speed to the racetrack. We've definitely gotten better in some areas. We just got to do it more consistently, like I said earlier, at every single different track type.
Got it. Appreciate you mentioning the intermediate package again. And getting into Iowa would be your second Cup start there this past weekend, but 7 prior starts on the O'Reilly side, which include 3 top 5s. No, after this year, they are repaving out in Iowa. A lot of drivers talk about the bumps and the surface there for this year. What's it like getting around Iowa?
It's a tough racetrack. It's tough for the teams to, be able to dial in the car, because there is so much of a transition from the old pavement to the new pavement and the huge bumps going around the racetrack. So it's really tough for the teams, and it's tough on the drivers also to be able to hit their marks and navigate those bumps good. So it's definitely a really tough one. And for me, I'm excited about the repave just because the last 2 years there haven't been great for us. But it's definitely a track it's hard to get your hands wrapped around.
Got it. Appreciate the honesty there. Yeah, NASCAR announced 2027 Iowa will be the July 4th weekend race. So, yeah, especially with that repave, excited for that one. And Cup Series travels out to Richmond Raceway this upcoming weekend. We'll be under the lights tomorrow night. In 7 previous Cup Series starts, you have 5 top 25s, and your best being in 2020 being 14th. With the surface there, plus the Cup Series running the 750 horsepower package, assuming the tire management and tire wear is going to come into play on the longer runs, how do you think the racing will be tomorrow night? And any goals for the 41 out in Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be – it's always a high tire fall-off race here. With the more horsepower, it's going to be interesting because they changed the rear gear also, so I don't know how that's going to affect the shifting. So we'll see. I don't know what the fall off is going to be like this race, but I think you'll definitely, grip is always a big factor here. So the car that can make the most rear grip and still turn the center is definitely going to be strong.
Got it. Thanks for going over the setup for Richmond. And second year back full time in the Cup Series, a Haas factory team, a one-car team at the Cup level from the start of last year to now. Obviously, Ford to Chevy. I mean, but as an onlooker, seems like everyone at Haas and as a team is making strides and more execution and finishes in the right direction. I mean, do you feel like you're going in the right direction as a team?
I think so. I think definitely we've seen that in our intermediate cars. We've gone from the start of the year was a really struggle, but now we're able to unload with our intermediate cars and be solid and have some speed out there. The short track's been tough, for us for sure. I think that's the biggest thing that we're lacking right now. And I think it's really hard to build a notebook on the short tracks because each short track is different. So you're really having to kind of take it one step at a time because we don't have a ton of a notebook on these short tracks. So hopefully we can kind of find something there and start working in the right direction.
Got it. Appreciate you being honest and where you guys want to see improvement. Did want to ask you about the final 3 races of your 5-race O'Reilly schedule for this year, running the 0 for SS Greenlight. Strange ending out in Charlotte, but 8th there, and 12th in Pocono, and in NASCAR's return to Chicagoland, your 9th. As a past series champ, what's it like to have these opportunities and, of course, work with the guys from SS Greenlight?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, being able to go back in the O'Reilly series and be able to run some races. Those cars, you get to slip and slide around so much. They are a lot different than the Cup cars, so it's tough to kind of get your mind wrapped around that as a driver and get back used to it. But it was definitely a lot of fun and would love to do it in the future.
Heck yeah. Definitely looks like a lot of fun in that series for sure. And last question. Crazy to think, but the final race of the regular season is upcoming a couple weekends in Daytona, then 10 more races after that. As mentioned, a one-car team, and you're the driver. What are your goals for the rest of this year? And then, of course, looking into the start of next season.
I think for us, it's being able to build off what we've been doing. I think we've started to have a taste of, running good and being competitive and right in the thick of things. And we want to keep doing that and improve our points position. The first half of the season really didn't go well for us, but I think being able to end on a strong note here for all these guys is definitely in the forefront, and we want to be able to go out there and show people what we can do.
Heck yeah, and then a good starting point for the following season. So we'll be watching you out in Richmond, and hope to see you out in Daytona in a couple weekends. And best of luck and safe travels, Cole. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Great to catch up with Cole. Appreciate his time as always. Now for discussions with Dave, part 2. More ripples from Zilich's move, going from Trackhouse to Hendrick. As we know, in 2028, he'll be driving their 48 entry at the Cup Series. We talked about a couple episodes ago, there was rumors that is Trackhouse going to be set up to be like a feeder team for Hendrick in the Cup Series? The more you think about it, it's kind of pointing in that direction. And that's not a bad thing, as we've said. I would not be overly surprised if we saw Corey Day fill Zilich's seat at Trackhouse for 2028 and on, and then say, I don't know how many more years, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, those guys, Byron, anywhere from 5 to 10 years, I would push that on the longer end, right? So Hendrick does keep saying they have a plan for Corey Day. Where does he fall into the pieces? If Trackhouse is really going to be a true partnership feeder team for Hendrick, I would expect that move. But is that going to happen? We'll find out. Moving right along, schedule announcements for 2027 have been trickling down. Here are some that caught my eye. One of my home tracks in Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. The trucks are going to come back there. This past year, ARCA, O'Reilly, and Cup ran. 2 years ago, they did have that triple header, and that's what's going to happen in 2027. Trucks Friday, O'Reilly Saturday, and the big show for the Cup Series out in Pocono in 2027. Another announcement I was just as excited about is NASCAR will return to Chicagoland in 2027. This year was the first time NASCAR ran in Chicagoland since 2019. Thought from ARCA to Cup and everything in between, this past year's race at Chicagoland was exciting and good racing. Really glad that NASCAR is returning there for 2027. And one thing I was sight for sore eyes to see this, with some rumors of NASCAR, wanting to, after running in Phoenix for a number of years, we know they're in Miami for this year. Are they going to stay in Miami or are they going to switch it around? NASCAR has announced the championship weekend will return again to Homestead, Miami in 2027. Slam dunk and no-brainer for NASCAR. In my opinion, the mile and a half of Miami we have seen has created some fantastic championship racing at the end of the season out in Homestead, bringing it back there. Phoenix is great, those exciting restarts, but for a championship to be decided on a restart like that, and not taking away from Kyle Larson's championship last year at all, but he just beat Denny Hamlin head-to-head on an overtime. He didn't even win the race. He won the championship, of course, but bringing it back to Homestead, Miami is just, in my opinion, going to make the driver earn the championship that much more. Last topic on DWD for this episode, an update on the home break-in at Greg Biffle's house. As we know, last December, an unfortunate incident. Greg Biffle, the plane, his family, several others losing their lives. Investigators have now connected Terrell Williams, 44, was the one that broke into Greg Biffle's house in Mooresville several days after his death. He stole tens of thousands of dollars in cash, 2 Glock handguns, NASCAR memorabilia. Detectives say Williams spent several hours inside the house and knew where the cameras were located. As mentioned, the burglary happened in early January, close to that untimely incident. Glad that authorities were able to track this guy down. And that wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Now for our Cup Series standings lookout after Richmond. Cup Series, 2 races remaining in the regular season before the chase starts for 16 drivers to fight toe-to-toe for a championship. Right now, 7 of the drivers are already locked in on points. Those 7, Denny Hamlin at the top, followed by Ryan Blaney, Ty Gibbs, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, and last but not least, locked in currently, Christopher Bell. Then the drivers from 8th to 16th that are on the right side at the moment are 8th, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher, Carson Hocevar, William Byron, Daniel Suarez, Bubba Wallace, Austin Cindric in the 16th and final spot as things sit, Shane Van Gisbergen. The odd man out right now, or guys on the bubble, Ryan Preece, Ross Chastain, Brad Keselowski 20th, Eric Jones, and then the rest of the field. Of course, anything can happen in 2 races, and as we know in Daytona. But now, without the threat of the winning you're in, as a fan, it really does feel like the driver has to earn each and every finish. The way things currently sit, Ryan Preece is 50 points behind Shane Van Gisbergen for that final spot. 40 points is a lot to overcome. In 2 races, yes, it is plausible mathematically. Shane, that's a tougher oval there in New Hampshire. Ryan's from the New England area. He's going to be running that modified race. So right now, my opinion, I think the favor is going to Ryan Preece, and we know what he can do in Daytona if he can keep that car clean. Really leaning towards Preece knocking SVG out. Like I've said several episodes ago, I kind of think it's trending in that way. But Shane could surprise me. Shane has been better at the ovals. If Shane can get a top 10 in New Hampshire, I think that's just going to lock in and secure that spot for the playoffs for him. Now, tire diaries for New Hampshire Motor Speedway. NASCAR Cup Series teams will be running the same Goodyear Eagle setup at New Hampshire as they did last weekend in Richmond, so familiar tires for those guys. This short track setup debuted at Martinsville last fall, and as mentioned last weekend, is designed to give increased grip and lap time fall off over the course of a run. One change this weekend comes with the introduction of a new practice format, consolidating practice to a single 50-minute session. To account for this increased track time, teams will now have access to additional tires for practice. The Truck Series will run Saturday afternoon, and they're running the same tires they just ran in Richmond, and both teams will have wet weather tires available should the weather conditions require them. A lot of racing action out in New Hampshire. There is an ARCA race at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. That's on the mile dirt track. This race always catches my eye as a racing fan, so wanted to go over the drivers. I'll be looking out for that one. Let's start with the Joe Gibbs driver, 18, Max Reeves. Of course, he's a favorite when going to a short track. What can he do in the dirt? Jake Bowman in that 20, along with teammate Gavin Boschel, Isabella Robusto, Thomas Annunziata, should all be quick. Then another pinnacle car, Taylor Reimer, should be really fast. And the 28 of Carson Brown should be up there competing for sure. Last but not least, what can the young Isaac Kitzmiller do in the 79? The NASCAR Modified Series will be the first series on track at New Hampshire. Drivers to look out for in this one, Rocket Man, Ryan Newman, Patrick Emmerling, Luke Baldwin, last year's winner, Stephen Kopech, Doug Colby, Ryan Preece running the Cup Series as well. Guy that came in second last year, right behind the number 3 of Kopech, was Justin Bonsignor. Got the Catalano brothers of Tommy, Trevor, and Tyler. Should all be quick. Do not forget about Matt Hirschman. He's going to be a fast one. Same with Austin Beers. Last but not least, the young Paulie Hartwig III, a local from New Jersey, runs at Wall and Bridgeport regularly. See him all the time. Best of luck to the local product in Hartwig. Now, the Truck Series drivers to look out for in New Hampshire. Got some youngsters that I'll be looking out for. Last weekend, Tristan McKee made his debut. He's running that 77 truck again. He was 8th in Richmond. Think he'll get another top 10 in New Hampshire. Gavin Boschel, another youngster, making his Truck Series debut. John Hunter Nemechek will be driving the 5 for Tricon. Don't see why not. John Hunter wouldn't be contending in that truck. And then last year's winner was Corey Heim, but of course, Caden Honeycutt's driving that now. Think he's going to be up contending. Got both of those front row trucks, championship contenders, the way things are. Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs, going to be up there. Giovanni Ruggiero was 4th last year in that Tricon equipment. Don't see why he's going to not be in the top 5 again. Ty Majeski, now in the 88, was 5th in New Hampshire last year. Can Ty crack into the top 3 and maybe contend? I don't see why not. Christian Eckes, he finished 9th last year. He should be quick again. The Toyota team of Halmar Friesen Racing, for the first time, is bringing 3 trucks to the track. Michael Christopher Bell, and of course, their full-time entry, who needs some playoff magic, Stuart Friesen. Last but not least, Connor Zilich will be running the 71 truck. Now, the Cup Series drivers to look out for at New Hampshire. Josh Berry was 4th in Richmond. He was 2nd in New Hampshire last year. Can Berry get another top 5, top 3, maybe contend? It's kind of trending that way. Ryan Blaney, stage 1 win in Richmond. His teammate Logano goes on to win, as we know. Blaney won this race in New Hampshire last year. Hendrick, I think William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson as well should be showing out. Not to mention all 4 of their drivers, but William Byron did finish 3rd there last year. So I think Hendrick is going to have poise for a good run. Joey Logano was 4th here last year. Going to be a favorite after the win in Richmond. Toyotas, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin should all be up front. You got Ross Chastain, 9th. Can he get a top 5 in that Trackhouse equipment? We'll find out. Those will be the drivers I'm looking out for Sunday in Richmond. Now for Fast AV's bets. Truck Series, give me a top 5 for Andres Perez de Laura. Cup, Josh Berry, top 5, a plus 210. Sign me up. Now for Trivia Answer Time. As mentioned earlier, this episode's question is, who won the first NASCAR Cup Series race from New Hampshire in 1993? The answer is Rusty Wallace. Rusty won the inaugural race on July 11th, 1993. He led 106 of those laps out in New Hampshire for the first race out there. Now for our predictions for the weekend, starting with ARCA out in the Illinois State Fairgrounds. Give me Taylor Reimer in that Pinnacle Racing equipment. Modifieds, I just don't think Justin Bonsignor lets a New Hampshire win slip away this time. Give me Bonsignor to win in the Modifieds Saturday morning. Trucks, Caden Honeycutt going back-to-back. That's what I think is going to happen. Now for the Cup Series on Sunday, give me Joe Gibbs, 19. Chase Briscoe, think he doesn't finish 2nd this weekend. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He'll be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Hope you all have another great summer weekend. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.